Whenever I try to understand any form of media, I always try to understand what that media is trying to achieve first. My favorite movie of all time, The Departed, sets out to tell two different storylines at the same time, both of which juxtapose each other, all in service of building tension so that the audience is on the edge of their seat by the time the climax comes around. And boy, does it succeed. Whereas the Tomb Raider movie set out to be a Tomb Raider movie and failed miserably by having like 5 minutes of actual tomb raiding and more time spent on worthless shootouts. Knowing what media is setting out to achieve seems to be a pretty solid mindset to get into, especially if you're going to end up critiquing or heavily judging the content. Now let's apply this to video games. Why is it so important to understand a video game before or while you're playing it? For most people, all they need to do is understand it enough to have fun, but then even then, sometimes that doesn't work out. What if you don't know what a roguelike is? What if you saw Hades had overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, so you bought it, only to be disappointed at the amount of repetition? This sounds far-fetched, but there are actually people who had that criticism, even though it's a fucking roguelike, and that's the whole point. Even on a consumer level, understanding of a video game is crucial. All of this can simply be put down to not reading the tags on Steam or looking at a review or gameplay, but again, you gotta remember, there are people out there who write the negative reviews and who actually get angry at features that are just part of the genre. These are people who did not try to understand either what the game truly was or what it was trying to achieve. Now, okay, if you play games for fun and don't try to get into reviews or criticism, then all you really have to understand is enough to be able to have fun. That's fine. As long as you're having a grand old time, then who cares? However, video games are multifaceted pieces of media with multiple moving parts to understand. Even if you play Counter-Strike casually, there's a chance that you'll want to engage with some of the more complex aspects to become better. Or you might not. It's up to you. Competitive games are one of the types of games where the more you understand, the more fun you might have. After all, competitive games are designed around having a high skill ceiling. That's why the intricacies are there, to allow for people to go above and beyond. Or take games like the Souls games, or something like Remnant 2, which I've just played a bunch of. Understanding that this is going to be a difficult game going into it is part of the experience, and Elden Ring's success tells me gamers are a lot more self-aware than you might think, thankfully. I can't even begin to describe the complexities in appreciating or understanding a video game, especially because each person is unique. But there was a reason I made this video. I promise I'm not just mindlessly rambling for nothing. I was inspired to talk about this because of Starfield's reception. The discourse surrounding Starfield has been utterly fucking ridiculous, with some of the most extreme and conflicting sides to a game's release in recent memory. On one hand, people are loving it and praising the game to high heaven, and on the other hand, people are shitting on it completely, saying that it's regressed, or that it's boring, or space exploration sucks, or getting mad at pronouns for some reason. Some of the negativity is earned, without a doubt. Some of the criticism is totally fair. The Reddit thread I referenced saying the game feels like it's regressed has some good points, but a lot of the negativity stems from people who went into this thinking this was going to be anything other than a Bethesda RPG in space. My expectations were set at that level. I went in thinking Bethesda wasn't going to innovate in any crazy way, and I understood how the game's systems would play out, having previously played Bethesda titles. Because I went in like that, I have been able to enjoy it so much more, and have given myself a foundation to stand on that allows me to appreciate what the game is trying to achieve. Initially, I wasn't sold on the exploration either. It is a jarring departure from the curated worlds of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, where the world is designed to entice you to explore it. However, that doesn't mean the exploration we have is bad. It's just different. When I put time into exploring some other star systems, I found that just a little bit of that curiosity I felt while playing Skyrim actually came back. Not even with the points of interest, just seeing a planet I haven't explored, landing on it, and being enamored by what I saw, simply because I hadn't seen this landscape, the flora, or the fauna before. It's a different type of exploration that is gratifying in its own way. The point here being, initially I was skeptical and somewhat disappointed, but as I put more time into understanding the exploration I'd been given to mess around with, I came to appreciate it more. Also, across my journey in this game, I've had to put aside some of my preferences and understand why things are the way they are in the game. I will always prefer function over form, or in the case of video games, speed and efficiency over nice animations, but I understand why they're in there. As much as it pains me to admit it, there are some people that love it every time the game animates the grab jump or the docking procedure, and I just have to sit here and accept that, even though it hurts the pacing for me.
Solid docking job there. Nice work.
Speaking of pacing, there is nothing I hate more in video games than excessive fucking dialogue. Unfortunately, Bethesda RPGs are a prime example of that, and Starfield decides to crank that shit to 11. So much fucking talking, and it's all done without facial expressions, and the voice acting kind of sucks, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it's so slow, and the dialogue skip isn't fast, and fuck, it pisses me off. But This is Bethesda's way of telling stories, and a lot of people love it. I would love to move on from this maddening style of storytelling and writing, but I'm only one guy, and some of the reviews I've seen could care less about it, so maybe I'm alone. Either way, I've tried to engage with this style of storytelling, and in some moments it has been super effective. I've also done the unthinkable and clicked the completely optional more dialogue button out of pure curiosity, which has got to say something, right? Anyway, I don't want to make a review on this game, not yet at least, but I did think it was important to discuss the importance of understanding a video game before, during, and after playing it. So did Starfield achieve the goals it set out to achieve as a piece of media? Yeah, I think it did, in a lot of ways. Not all, but a lot. And I tried to go into Starfield with the dual mindset of, what are they trying to achieve? And this is a Bethesda game, keep my expectations there. You can argue that if we keep our expectations low or constantly say, oh, it's just a Bethesda game, then we'll never get innovation in our industry, and I get it. But that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, next time you go into a game, don't judge it based on your first impressions entirely, and try to remember what the game is setting out to achieve. And even if you come out on the other end not liking it, you might end up respecting it. Okay, Twitter, Twitch, subscribe. Have a great day.